Hey everyone, it's Tracy Martirana here from Holistic Wellness with Tracy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another video in my From Scratch series. If you've been following along, you know that I make a lot of meals from scratch, but in this series I'm making ingredients from scratch. Items that most people would probably buy at the store, but that you could make at home, but most people don't. Recently, I found a recipe for a fairly simple sounding artisan cracker, and I'm going to give that a try today. So come on, let's get cooking. The recipe I found is simple. However, it calls for just white sesame seeds. I went to my spice rack and I found I have some, but not enough for this recipe. So instead of just using white sesame seeds, I'm also going to use some black sesame seeds, and then I'm going to amp up the flavor with some everything bagel seasoning. Like I said, this recipe is super simple. So in a bowl, I have a cup of flour. The recipe called for just plain white flour. I did add a little bit of whole wheat flour into the bottom, and then I just filled the rest with white flour. So I probably did like a quarter cup of whole wheat flour, just making them a little healthier. To that, I'm adding salt, about a quarter of a teaspoon. If you're using anything other than kosher salt or sea salt, so if you're using like table salt, you might want to use a little less, probably almost half, like an eighth of a teaspoon. You don't want the crackers to be too salty. And then I'm going to start with my white sesame seeds. The recipe calls for a tablespoon. Let's see. I have just a few extra. All right, it's a good tablespoon. That is the end of those. I'm just going to mix that all together. Make a little well in the center, and I'm going to add in my wet ingredients, which would be a couple tablespoons of olive oil. 1, 2, oh good. And then a third cup of water. Stir it together until you get a dough. And at this point, I'm just going to switch to using my hands because it's easier. And then once we have the dough ball, I'm going to cut it in half to work in 2 separate pieces just to make it easier to handle. Cut it in half, rolling this back up into a ball, setting it aside, and this is the one I'm going to work with. I'm going to roll right onto parchment paper. And we're just rolling it out super thin. And once we have this rolled out, I'm going to do like half of my other toppings. So I'm going to use a little bit of just the plain black sesame seeds. I don't need a lot because there are black sesame seeds in the everything bagel. Just sprinkle it over. And as you notice, it's just everything's just kind of sitting on top of the crackers. I'm going to roll back over again, sort of push that stuff down into the dough. You see how thin that is? Very, very thin. And then before we bake them, we want to cut them into cracker shapes. So I'm just doing squares using my pizza cutter. You decide how big or small you want them. Just remove that little piece. And of course, they don't have to be perfect because they're homemade. I'm going to transfer this to a baking sheet and roll out my other batch. And then the last step before baking would be to spray some oil over it. If you have spray oil, I do not, so I'm just going to use my basting brush, get a little bit of oil, and just do like a really light. Try not to lose too much of my flavoring with this. And I'm going to throw these in the oven and bake them part way and then check on them because they say like the edges might get a little cooked faster, so I might halfway through move some crackers around. We shall see. So they've been in here 12 minutes. And the idea was pull them out to see if I needed to move them around. But I think they look pretty good. They're like browning evenly. Nothing is getting browned faster than anything else. So I'm going to put them back in for another 8 to 10 minutes. They look pretty good. They look like they're crispy. A couple of these started to get a little on the browner side. I'm just going to let these sit here and cool for a bit. They look pretty good, pretty yummy. Let's give them a taste test. They are surprisingly good. I don't know if that's really surprising. I don't think I would make them with just sesame seeds though. That might be good, and depending on like the cheese that you're serving it with, you might prefer sort of a more mild cracker. But if you want flavor, I think you need either the everything bagel seasoning or like some garlic or rosemary or something a little extra. But they're good. And they were really super easy, so I would definitely give these a try. And once they're cooled, you just store them in an airtight container. They should last for maybe 3 or 4 days, I think. If they get a little soft, you can just heat them back up in the oven. I'm not sure that these will last 3 to 4 days. I'm pretty sure they're going to get mowed down because they are pretty darn tasty, with or without cheese, on their own. And with the black sesame seeds, they're really pretty. So I would definitely highly recommend this recipe. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day.